It has always been on most people's mind to become rich. Like literally, there's a song about becoming a millionaire and flying to Japan to eat sushi. Or even during Chinese New Year, we will say to one another, 恭喜发财, which literally means hope you get rich, man. We even have a god of wealth called 财神. Not him, that's god of gamblers, 赌神. Not him either, that's god of stocks, 股神. This is god of wealth, 财神. And we often think about him coming to our house like a food delivery person, but instead of food, he delivers wealth. And also, every once in a while, you'll see long queues to buy the lottery whenever there's a large prize. But now, what I really want to know is, how much is enough so that you can quit your job and retire? Do you really need $1 million or even more? Especially when Singapore always seemed to be one of the most expensive cities to live in a few years in a row. According to MOM, our average income is $4,500 a month, inclusive of employers' CPF contribution. Assuming that we start working at 22 and retire at 62, we will have made 2.16 million over our entire lives. But of course, we don't get to keep the full amount. Yes, you guessed it, you still have to contribute CPF. So after we willingly contribute our CPF, we still have about 1.36 million. Minus off the income tax, we still have about 1.32 million left. Singaporeans save about 46% of their income, which is pretty high. So that leaves us with $607,089.60 left to use after we have retired, not inclusive of CPF money payout. Assuming that we live till the average lifespan of 80 years, we still have about 18 years to enjoy the money that we have saved our entire lives. Then we died. But what if I told you that not only can you retire with just $600,000, you do not need to wait till 62 years old to retire. In fact, you can live comfortably without ever running out of money. If we research online, there are all kinds of articles which tells us all kinds of scary stuff. Like Motley Fool tells us that 1 million is not enough to retire on. Chris Muller, an MBA professional, saying that we need $2 million to retire. MarketWatch, 3 million. Or Susie Orman, a financial expert who says that we need 5 million. By now, you'll be like, what? Nani? So how much is enough? Don't panic right now. The thing that you have to remember is that these articles often have clickbait titles to scare you into clicking in. Just like my video thumbnails, where I look like I have a very bad migraine every now and then. Now, it is very true that $1 million doesn't have the same purchasing power as it did last time. Like your dad will used to tell you, boy, last time I buy mihun 20 cents only, but now mihun is $3 to buy, so expensive. Then you will not even dare to tell him that you use GrabFood to order mee siam, mai ham for $10 this morning. Due to inflation, everything has become more and more expensive. And no, not everything is PAP's fault. To be able to afford the same amount of stuff with $1 million today, as you did in 1980, you will need around $3.2 million with an average inflation rate of 2.96% each year. Or in other words, due to inflation, for every $100 we have in our bank, we will lose $2.96 every year. Together with all the recession and money printing, we might be seeing future inflation rates surging to 4% or even 5%. However, this is not as a big issue as you might think. You do not need $2 million or even $1 million to retire. The fact is, as I mentioned just now, you only need $600,000 to retire. But how is that possible? Introducing a study called Trinity Study, done in 1998 by 3 professors at Trinity University. This study tries to determine what is the safe withdrawal rates from investment portfolios over different time periods. How it works is this: imagine your investment portfolio to be like a tree. Every year, you will chop off its branch, but if you only chop off part of it, the tree can grow fast enough so that you will never run out of woods to chop. The Trinity study ran the simulation from 1926 to 1995 and was later expanded to 2019. It is important to note that during those periods, there were many major negative events that happened. 1929 Great Depression, World War II, post-war bear market, Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, high inflation period, Vietnam War, Black Monday. The study was also conducted on 5 different kinds of portfolios: 100% stocks, which is what I currently have, 75% stocks, 25% bonds, 50% stocks, 50% bonds, 25% stocks, 75% bonds, and 100% bonds. on different number of years, namely 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years. And it also takes inflation into account. So this study definitely covered all kinds of possibilities. Here's the result. For a portfolio that has at least 25% stocks in it and only withdraw 4% every year, over 20 years, the chance that your portfolio will never run out of money is 100%. For example, if you have $600,000 when you retire, if you only withdraw 4% or only 24k to use every year, then your $600,000 will outlast you in all market conditions and will never run out of money. But that's after you retire. What if you're like me? You do not want to wait till old age to retire. You want to quit your job right now and do the things that you have always wanted to do, like start a business, travel the world, or tapping the like button to help support the channel. So let's say if you are around my age, which is 12 years old, just kidding, which is around 30 years old and want to retire right now. If you withdraw 4% every year, the chance that your money will never run out drops to 90% instead. Now, even though 90% chance is high, it's still not high enough for me because there's still a 10% chance that I will run out of money. If I run out of money in my 50s, that would suck. Who would even want to hire me? A way to increase the success rate is to lower the 4% withdrawal rate down to 3.5%. If you do that, your success rate will go back up to 98%. And that is only assuming that your portfolio is 100% stocks. You might be wondering, why 98%? What about that 2%? The truth is, nothing is 100% certain. World War III could just happen, an asteroid could just crash into Earth and wipe out everyone. Or there could be an Iron Man 4. There's no point to lower your withdrawal rate even further just to cover that 2%. In fact, the 98% or even 90% success rate is good enough for most people, because people who retire early will have more than one income source, like doing YouTube, rental property, e-commerce, or doing business, to reduce their reliance on just one income source. Here's another good news. While your friends are still working and you are retired, enjoying your life at some exotic beach in Thailand, or if you still can't travel due to pandemic lockdowns, enjoying your life at Sentosa Beach, not only your portfolio sustain your lifestyle, but its final value, also known as terminal value, have increased by a lot. So using the earlier example, if you have 600k living on 3.5% or 21k, over 30 years, your portfolio will have grown by 6 times the original value, leaving you with more money than when you have started. It's due to the compounding effect, which Einstein himself has said that it is the 8th wonder of the world. You see, due to the compounding effect, your money will grow faster and faster over time. After you have passed away, you could just pass your money to your kids to give them a slight edge in life. Or you could just be a generous Nigerian prince and give your money to strangers. The next important question to ask is, how much is enough? So despite the study showing that Singapore is the most expensive city to live in, it doesn't actually reflect the true living cost of Singaporeans. The study was actually done for expats who want to live in Singapore. First, currency. The Singapore dollar has strengthened against many currency, SGD1 to RM3. Because of this, the cost of living for expats have gone up. Second, the basket of items which they use to compare the prices were more expensive. Think of buying your groceries from cold storage instead of NTUC or Sheng Siong. Third, the study only takes into account the cost of cars instead of public transport. As we all know, cars in Singapore are freaking expensive. Even rich Angmoh actors were stunned like vegetables when they heard about the car price. However, public transport in Singapore is good enough that you don't actually need to have a car. Not PAP sponsored video. In 2019, there was a study done by a team of researchers to find out how much old people need to live in Singapore. The summary is, for a single elderly, you will need around $1,400. For a couple elderly, you will need $2,400. And for a 55 to 64 years old person, you will need $1,700. Of course, this includes maintaining a standard of living and not like some poor college kid who have to eat Maggi mee every day. True story. The budget includes all the usual stuff like food, clothing, public transport, bills, healthcare, recreation, entertainment, newspaper, and yes, even holiday expenses. Using data from this study, let's calculate how much we need to retire in our 30s. So let's take the high end of a single person, which was $1,700. If you live with your spouse, it will be double the amount, right? But let's keep it to one person for now. There's a rule out there called multiply by 25 rule, in which you multiply your annual income by, yes, you guessed it, 25, in order to determine how much you need to retire. So using the 1.7k example, you will need $510,000, which is actually lower than the 600k example which I gave just now. Here's the thing about multiply by 25 rule. How much you need to retire doesn't actually depend on how much you earn, but rather how much you spend, which is actually both a good news and a bad news if you think about it. Good news is if you do not anyhow spend your money and instead save most of it, then you will need lesser to retire. Bad news is if you like to splurge your money, like going out for nice meals every day, buying fancy clothes every month, then you will need a lot more to maintain your luxury lifestyle. Some people could be earning $3,000 and can still save $2,000, while others are earning $10,000 but only save $1,000. So when you can retire totally depends on your lifestyle. Now of course, there are lots of obstacles to retiring early in Singapore. First, house, marriage and kids are expensive in Singapore, but you can totally avoid all the high costs if you budget properly. Like living in a HDB that fits your family size instead of living in a condo with a pool that you will never use. Or buy and cook yourself instead of calling Grab food every other day. And perhaps, possibly, maybe, renting out one spare room to generate extra income. Second, most Asian parents would treat their kids as a retirement plan, like, when daddy old, you'll bring daddy to Europe, right? Or, when daddy old, you'll pay for my food, right? So much so that there's a term for it called sandwich generation, where working adults would gap in between paying for expense for their parents, themselves and their children. This is because most of the time our parents are not as financially savvy as we are and do not know how to invest their money. In this case, you could try to set them up for retirement by helping them build up a retirement portfolio using their own money and assets so that they do not have to rely on you as much. As a wise man once said, teach a man to fish and you will feed him for a lifetime. Third, Singapore does not have a retirement refuge. Like many overseas people, when they want to retire, they could just move to a cheaper state. Like in Malaysia, they could just move to Ipoh to retire. However, you can't do so in Singapore, right? Where can you retire to? Yishun? That would be scary, right? Just kidding guys. There's a term called geographic arbitrage, where you make use of the strength of the Singapore dollar and move to somewhere cheaper, like Vietnam or Thailand or even Bali. With that $1,700, you could already live like a king at those places, finally owning your own car, living in a double-story house, and eating out every day. So here's a few rules that you must follow if you want to retire early. Be frugal, save as much money as you can, and don't spend on stupid stuff like Starbucks or Gucci bags. Take the money that you have saved and invest them into the stock market. The idea is to buy and hold and never panic sell. And do not have a lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, keep your expense the same no matter what. Because remember, it's not about living a luxury lifestyle or showing off. Retiring early is much more valuable than all of this. You will now own all of your time and can live life however you want to. When you reach to that 100k, you know that you will succeed because what got you to 100k will get you to 500k or even $1 million. You can call me crazy, but I totally think that early retirement is possible in Singapore. In fact, I'm personally aiming for this goal, which is to retire by 40 to 45 years old. Whether I will succeed or not, time will tell. If I succeed, then this video will have aged well. Or if I fail, then you all can laugh at me. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you think early retirement is possible in Singapore? Or are you personally aiming for it too? Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday. See ya!